Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another wonderful vid. In this one, I am going to take a look at some Brainwavz ear pads. As you can see, I've already opened the package here. This actually came in a zipped bag, but I broke the Ziploc part off. So, anyway, let's get the Brainwavz pads out. And you get a pair of them, of course, and you get a catalog showing you some other stuff. And if you really want to get a look at the package, there it is. That's it. That's what comes. And getting these in hand, obviously I've been playing around with them some since I've opened the package. They are very soft and plush. But they have a very thin, what's the word I'm looking for? Mesh there. Especially compared to the other pads that I have for my other large headphones. Here is the one. This is from the Audio-Technica ATH-M50x. Has a much thicker mesh than the Brainwavz pad. Obviously, size comparison. Brainwavz is much larger than the Audio-Technica stock pad. I also have stock pad here from the Monoprice 8323. Again, much thicker mesh and huge size difference. And the primary reason I got these is I've been using my Monoprices as my daily drivers, basically taking them to work every day. And as you can see, the ear cups on these are extremely worn down, tons of cracks in them, the whole 9 yards. So I thought to myself, let's give these things a try, because I've heard how comfortable they are, and they are very comfortable. And these totally, you can fit your entire ear inside of this, right? Whereas in these, you will not fit your entire ear in either the Monoprice or the Audio-Technica ear cups. They just won't fit. Your entire ear will not fit in there. In these, they definitely do. Now, I have heard that supposedly these change the sound signature of the headphones that you're wearing. I haven't verified this yet, but I'm going to assume that's probably true. I, of course, will be talking about the audio impacts of these pads. I'll probably talk about it. I am going to try. I do plan on trying it out on both the Audio-Technica and the Monoprices just to see how it sounds compared to the stock pads. Just be a nice little experiment to do. Of course, you know, I'll get a pretty in-depth analysis of that as I can. Unfortunately, there's no way to quickly A/B these, as removing the pads and putting them on is a little bit time consuming. Now, just in case you're curious, this is the Audio-Technica ear cup without any padding on it whatsoever, just, you know, in case you've never seen this. And here's the Monoprice ear cup, just in case you're curious. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I am going to pause and I am going to do some pretty extensive testing here. I'm going to test, I'll probably start with the Monoprices, test those out first, stock versus the Brainwavz pad, and I'll come back and talk about how it sounds. And also, since I have no need for these pads, one thing I plan on doing is once I'm finished testing, I'm going to I'm gonna actually do a total of 3 tests on the Monoprices. Of course, I'm gonna listen with the stock ear pads to get a baseline sound. I mean, I pretty much know how these sound, obviously. I've had these headphones for years, but just to give my ears a nice fresh representation of the sound with the stock ear pads. Then I'm going to try the Brainwavz ear pads straight out of the box with a very thin mesh. And then what I plan on doing after that is I'm going to actually cut the backing out of the Monoprice headphones, ear pads, and basically, you know, insert it behind the Brainwavz. That way I kind of get a double mesh there, and that'll change the sound signature again. So I'm going to experiment with kind of 3 different sounds on this, and I think that'll be an interesting thing to try out. Anyway, I'm going to pause real quick and be right back. Alright guys, now I've had some time to do some listening with the new pads on. Just some cursory quick listening, and I have to say, what do I think sonically that this did for the headphone? It kind of opened them up a bit, actually. I was, you know, it wasn't a night and day difference with the new ear pads, but it basically did provide, I felt, some added clarity to the sound of these headphones, as well as improving the soundstage a bit. It wasn't night and day. Now, a big question people ask, is there reduced bass output with these ear pads as opposed to stock? Yes, it did reduce the bass output somewhat, but it wasn't a dramatic, it was certainly not dramatic. There was a slight reduction, but I think if you boosted it with EQ some, you might be perfectly still happy with it. Now, I tested with these I tested with and without these pads, right? Well, these additional pads that I stuck inside the ear cups, which is basically foam from the stock Monoprice ear pads, right? I cut the foam off so I could test it both ways with basically this additional damping material in the ear cups. And the differences that I could tell with and without the foam in there, the additional damping force, or I'm sorry, damping material, it seemed with the additional material in there, it did help give it a slight bass boost above, you know, without these in there. It did change the sound signature some, and I think it reduced the treble a little bit. And honestly, I think I prefer the sound. Sorry, knocking the camera around there. I think I prefer the sound of these pads with these foam inserts rather than without these foam inserts. So I'm going to find a way to, you know, do a little bit better way to insert these without just sticking them in there and hoping they stay. I'll probably you know, put them behind or something so they don't move around so much. I'll figure something out, and once I do, I'll obviously tell you guys how I did it. So I can pick now. I think it improved the sound of these headphones. I think it was overall a positive impact on the sound. Now the question is, did it move it up to another, you know, class of headphone? No, it improved the sound, but I don't think it didn't elevate to the level of the Harman Kardon CLs, and of course not the Audio-Technica ATH-M50Xs either. Now, basically, there's going to be a couple of more parts of this video. I just did a quick cursory listen with this thing tonight. Basically, what I plan on doing next is I am going to kind of do an all-day comfort test with this and see how comfortable this is on my head after a long period of time with these large ear cups. And give an assessment there. I'm also going to, I can't resist trying these on the ATH-M50Xs as well. I will be trying it out. No doubt about that. And I, of course, will give a full report on that. So, so far, it is looking like these are going to be a recommended upgrade for headphones. But I'll hold my final verdict until you know, the final part of the video. So, see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, here I am after doing some pretty extended testing today with the Monoprice 8323s. I wore these headphones for multiple hours today with the obviously these upgraded ear pads, and the comfort is now, these are now incredibly comfortable headphones. They're more comfortable than any other pair of headphones I have right now, including the ATH-M50Xs, because the headband on this doesn't bother me. Ever since if you've been following my channel a long time ago, I did a comparison between this and a few different headphones, and I said when I first got these the comfort was terrible, but if you stretch them out for a couple of days over the box, it really helps with the headband comfort. The only thing that was really lacking in comfort on these headphones before were, of course, the ear pads, and now with these ear pads, the comfort is amazing with these headphones. And the sound quality, like I said, I do think was actually improved with these ear cups on this. So, and if you watched my video right before this one, pretty brief one about this cable upgrade that I did for these headphones. With this cable and these ear pads, this is now an incredibly great, cheap pair of headphones. I don't, maybe about, $50 altogether, for the headphones, the pads, and the cord is probably rough cost, and for that price, this is an absolutely amazing set that I have right here. For that price, this is really wonderful. So enough about that. So obviously, would I recommend getting the Brainwavz pads for the Monoprices? Absolutely, I would recommend it. It's a it's a no-brainer recommendation. Okay. Now, next up, I am going to be doing testing, of course, on one of the internet's favorite headphones that some people on the internet love and some people on the internet hate. And I, of course, am talking about the Audio-Technica ATH-M50Xs. So, what I'm going to do now, obviously, is I'm going to take the pads off of these, throw them on here, do some comparisons, yada yada, and I will be back here in a little bit. So, see you guys in a bit. Okay, guys, now that I did the listening on the Audio-Technicas, what did I think of the Brainwavz on the Audio-Technicas? Well, as you can see, they're no longer on the Audio-Technicas. The pads changed the sound stage, or I'm sorry, the presentation of the M50Xs a whole lot. Much more than I thought it would. It was not a subtle difference. In my opinion, the Brainwavz pads totally, on the M50Xs, they totally scoop out the mids. They dramatically changed the sound stage, in my opinion, honestly, for the worse. It was a very dramatic difference, not at all what I was expecting. Because with the 8323s, basically all they did was open the sound stage up a bit and give the sound room to breathe. Now, it did reduce maybe the impact of the sound a little bit, but it didn't change it as dramatically as it did on the M50s. Now, another thing it did is it really dropped the bass response on these two. I mean, it decreased the bass response significantly. Okay, I mean, the bass was still present, but it definitely was less with the Brainwavz than with the stock pads. Now, in fact, when I first heard it, I was kind of shocked how much I heard the sound change, especially given my experiences with the 8323s. So I was in such shock, I had to figure out, okay, is there a way that I can more quickly switch between the two pads? Because doing it properly, it takes several minutes to remove the pads and then put them on properly. It's not a quick A-B type of comparison. So I was like, well, let's experiment with something and see if this will work. So going to show you the method I've been using to that I used to test here, right? It's like, well, I do this, and I'd listen to the M50 stock pads, and I'm like, okay, let's listen to the same thing with the Brainwavz. So, right, and then I would just kind of, you know, kind of line these up, and you know, fit them. I would be a little more, you know, careful than I'm being on camera right now, guys. But, you know, I would kind of line them up and then try them that way. That was a much. Now, is it completely accurate doing it this way? No, but it certainly was a speedier switching process than, you know, finagling it onto the headphones properly. Because the first time I did listen, I did, you know, go to the trouble of installing these correctly. It's not like I only listened to it like this. I did correctly install it the first time I listened to it, because I wanted to get, you know, the full sound of these correctly installed. So, but after that, I was just like, you know what, this fast A/B thing will be good enough to kind of verify my thoughts. Now, I did the same thing after the dramatic difference on the M50Xs. I decided to try the M50X pads and compare them to the Brainwavz on the Monoprice's sake. Hey, you know, it sounds so much worse on the M50X. Well, these sound so much better on the Monoprices. Well, no, it wasn't, not really. Yes, with the M50X pads on the Monoprices, the sound had more impact, a little more punch, but it was not nearly as dramatic of a change as on the M50Xs themselves. And frankly, as far as which one I preferred on the Monoprice between the two pads, I didn't have a clear preference for sound. They both had their ups and, you know, plus sides and downsides, and they were fairly similar in overall sound signature. The Miz didn't get scooped out or anything like that. They were still very present in both sets of pads. The bass is still very present in both sets of pads, so I don't really have a whole ton of complaints about these pads on how they affect the Monoprice's sound. So, again, I could wholeheartedly, without any reservation whatsoever, recommend these for the Monoprice 8323s. I can recommend them 1,000,000,000% because they are incredibly comfortable ear pads. These, like I said, they really transformed the comfort of a set of headphones. Absolutely elevates it to a whole level way above at least anything I've experienced before. This elevates these. I can't. Yeah, here I am struggling to do it while I'm on the camera. It elevates these to a ridiculously good level, ridiculously good comfort. So, what am I going to do for now? Obviously, for now, I'm going to put the stock pads back on the M50Xs. But all is not lost. Oh no. Because I did some Googling. And apparently... But no, not all is lost, because I did some Googling, and apparently these... these bad boys here are highly recommended for the ATH-M50Xs as well. And they are not nearly as... Now, they're bigger than the stock ear pads, right? They'll fit over your ear better than these will. But they're not as big as these. I think maybe part of the issue with these is their immense size. They are extremely large ear pads. So I am going to get a set of those and try them out with the M50Xs to see what I think, blah, blah, blah. So, bottom line on these pads, obviously I recommend them for the Monoprices, no doubt. The Audio-Technicas, not so much. So obviously what I'm going to do is, Brainwavz are going back on the Monoprices. I have no regrets whatsoever about getting them, but I'm glad I only got one pair because I would not have wanted to have returned a pair, you know, for the M50Xs. So the question is Is 20 some odd dollar ear pads worth it? If you have the Monoprice 8323s, absolutely they are. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap this up. You know, nothing else to say. If you did enjoy this, as always, thumbs up. If you hate me, thumbs down. Share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.